Sí, lo vimos en la mera entrada.
That?
We'll be able to see it.
Okay, but my question is, who's going to be changing the slides? Who's going to be changing the slides
Yeah.
Got it.
online?
Aquí, I'm gonna do it. Whatever I change, it's gonna change online, so I'll be able to do it here.
So you'll be able to see it from here, I think.
We just won't be able to
Size over
zoom.
there.
No pinching
You
with
can't
your
see that?
fingers to zoom.
I can see it. I can see it. Okay.
It's lagging. So, you want,
So,
you
Can we
wanna
turn
turn the
off?
volume off, ¿verdad, Manuel, there?
so we'll be able to see it.
Yeah, because you know
Ahí
we're
está,
hearing.
regresa.
Why doesn't mine come on?
¿Ves? ¿Ves que no se ve? En la mía sí.
Because, well, here you'll be able to see it, and you'll just switch it over. You'll see what's going to be switched.
Manuel,
Mine is not on.
I have 1 minute.
The connection.
Manuel.
You're
They're not
you're
connected.
offline también, mine got disconnected.
Está offline.
Mine is not on. I'm online, but how about if you refresh it? Right here?
It's offline.
Okay.
This one's on.
Cortés.
But you can see on this computer for now, right?
Yeah, I can see. I'm on it. Ah, great timing. Manuel, ese también. Pero, ¿qué es tu Manuel? Ahí está atrás. We can delay it a minute or two. We're on live right now? Okay. Okay. We're just having a couple of technical difficulties right now. We'll get started in about a minute or two once we get the other laptop going. Okay, good evening, everybody, and thank you, members, for attending today, and thank you, everybody, for attending online as we go over our bond election overview. Before we get started, I'd like to introduce the panel that we have up here today. Starting from my left to the right, we have Mr. Pedro Alanis, Business Director. We have Dr. Miguel de los Santos, our Financial Advisor. We have Mr. Edgar Garza, Human Resource Director, myself, Carlos Gonzalez, Superintendent. To my right, I have Angel Magallanes, Financial Director. We have Mrs. Marisa Belmontes, Middle School Curriculum and Bilingual Director. And we have Edgar Rodriguez, he's our Maintenance Director and also a Director helping in Finance. Thank you all for attending today. And we'll go ahead and get started with our bond election overview. Thank you for joining us in our town hall meeting. Tonight we'll briefly outline the materials of our bond proposal so you can make an informed decision about your vote in the upcoming election. At the end of the presentation, we'll be happy to address any questions from the in-person audience. And thank you, media, for coming, and or people that are in the virtual audience. We'll address those questions. I'll go ahead and get started. Well, at our district at a glance. If y'all can switch it over. At our district at a glance, we're an A-rated school district, and we've been A-rated for many years. Academically, we're a very successful school district, and we plan on staying there. We are also an A-rated district with our financial management. We get a superior rating every year. Our finance department does a very good job with our reporting, financial reporting. So we're both A-rated in academics and in finance. We have 2 blue ribbon schools. In 2015, F.J. Scott was selected as a blue ribbon school. And in 2019, Emma Vera became a blue ribbon school. And right now, we have RC Science Elementary in the process of applying, in the application process for becoming a Blue Ribbon campus. They were nominated, and it looks like they might get it. So we might have a third campus as a Blue Ribbon campus here in our district. We have 2 schools that are ESEA distinguished schools. In 2016, F.J. Scott Elementary received that honor. And last year, Roel and Celiar Science Elementary received the honor as a ESEA distinguished school. Every year, our schools rank as some of the top in the valley and state by children at risk. They're performing at high levels. And last year, we had 5 campuses get a gold ribbon award. That is Delia G. Garcia Elementary School. That is Emma Vera Elementary School. That is F.J. Scott Elementary School, RC Science Elementary School, and Roma Middle School. They were gold ribbon schools. There. I was going to say I was going to slow down, but we already have the screen up so the audience can see it. Okay, our district at a glance. We have 9 schools with 1 alternative school, which spread across 490 square miles, serving approximately 6,000 students. Last year was 2,000, or this school year we have 2,978, but we average close to 6,000, and that has been a consistent number for the past decade. We'll go up from it, we'll go down from it, but that's basically where we stay at. I foresee us staying at that number for a few years. Maybe a population might increase, or we might see an increase of students. We serve 9,015 meals per day, but that does not include our after-school snacks that we provide for students. We transport 2,400 students per day on bus routes, and that's not including what we do throughout the valley and state with extracurricular activities. And we employ more than 1,000 people in our school district, making us one of the largest employers in Starr County. For the past 75 years, Roma ISD has been a dynamic community committed to the achievement of student excellence with a mission to graduate every student college, career, and military ready. To continue our record of success for our generations to come, we must continue to look and plan for the future, and that's why we're here with our bond election overview. So, how did this work? Well, the school board and the superintendent, alongside with our financial advisors that are here and our architects, we did a facility study and planning, also a study of our finances. And as we went through our study, our highest need was at the secondary level. We generally have very good campuses at the elementary school. Past bond elections focused on building elementary schools, but we've overlooked the secondary level. So the decision was made to look at the secondary level. So as we're focusing on the secondary schools, as a result of the study, we've proposed to look at different areas. And the proposed bond election upgrades will include athletics, career and technical education, transportation, performing arts, physical education, and community events. Roma ISD students will be directly served by the suggested facility improvements as they advance through Roma ISD secondary schools in the next 3 decades. So we have 3 propositions that we'll be going over. The bond election will be divided into 3 propositions, Proposition A, B, and C. So right now, Mr. Rodriguez, can you go over what Proposition A is?
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Let's look at Proposition A. Proposition A is the first of 3 propositions. Proposition A includes the expansion of the Roma High School Mighty Gladiator Band Building, upgrades at the Roma High School Softball Stadium, a new gym for F.J. Scott Elementary, outdoor learning spaces for all Roma ISD elementary schools, and the relocation of the Transportation Department. The total cost of Proposition A is $8,315,000. Why is Proposition A needed? The band program has become a very successful and popular program. The Roma High School Band Hall is currently at capacity, and our students need more space to practice their instruments with their sections. Therefore, included in this proposal is the expansion of our facilities for the Roma High School Band Hall. Next slide. Also included in this proposition is the construction of a gym for F.J. Scott Elementary. F.J. Scott Elementary is the only elementary school in our school district that does not have a gym at their campus. The students at F.J. Scott Elementary, including the pre-K students, currently use the Jesus Chuy Guerra gym, and they have to walk quite some distance to get there, as seen in these pictures. Therefore, it is the recommendation of our architectural team to build a gym that is closer to the campus. Can you go to the previous? Included in this proposition is also the construction of a dressing room and parking lot for the softball stadium. The softball teams currently have to get ready for their practices and games using the football fieldhouse dressing rooms and walk all the way down to the softball stadium. Softball parents and spectators currently have to park along the street due to the stadium not having a parking lot. Relocating the transportation department to a centralized location to create more efficiency in their routes and to address the overflow of traffic at the high school area is also included in this proposition. In this slide, we see a picture of the current transportation mechanic shop. Previous one. This proposition includes building a mechanic shop at the proposed location to service our fleet, along with parking area for our buses. Okay, so what does Proposition A look like? Our architectural team sent us some renderings for us to be able to visualize what the projects could look like. As we can see here on the left, this is what the band hall expansion could look like. In the middle, we have an image of what the softball dressing room could look like, and on the right, we see a rendering of the proposed gym for the F.J. Scott Elementary students. Next slide, please. In this slide, we can see an aerial view of the proposed site for the softball stadium upgrades towards the bottom. The parking lot and dressing rooms can be built to the left of the softball stadium or on the north side of the field. Toward the top of this same aerial view, we have the band hall. The proposed area for the expansion is in the back area of the current band hall. I would like to add that Roma ISD is currently working with local funds on a project to build a band practice pad right across the band hall so that our students don't have to walk and practice at the student parking lot at the front of the high school like they have been doing for so many years. Additionally, with local funds, we are also working on expanding the dressing rooms to add more locker spaces for our students at the band hall. At the top of this image, we see the current site of the transportation department. Next slide, please. In this slide, we can see an aerial view of F.J. Scott Elementary. The Jesus Chuy Guerra gym can be seen at the bottom part of the image. The proposal calls for the gym to be built closer to the main building in the area marked with the blue square. Next slide, please. Mr. Gonzalez, can you talk about the outdoor learning areas that are also included in this proposition in this slide?
Thank you, Mr. Rodriguez. So included in Proposition A are going to be the outdoor elementary spaces. These are called kickabouts. And the company Hellas makes these, but they're turf fields. And these little turf fields will be the safest fields that our kids in elementary schools can play on. This is the field that will be a size like a 30 by 30 field, 30 yard by 30 yard. And the reason we want to build these fields is so that kids can be playing on the safest surface so they won't get hurt. The picture on the right is an area of where the transportation department will be located. That's the back area of YBE Elementary, the old YBE Elementary School. So if you go to the next slide, we have an aerial proposed view of where the transportation department will be located. It's going to be located where the old YBE Elementary School was. Currently, we're using the YB Elementary School for alternative school. And that's the middle section of the building, that you see there, where the second arrow is. The top section of that building, right now, we're currently constructing or doing construction on the inside of the building, and we're fixing an 18-plus center. This is an area where students after 18 years old, special ed students, can still attend school. What we're going to do in this area, we're going to teach our students life skills, learn how to independent living, learn how to work in a motel, or learn how to work in a store. Outside of that building, we'll also construct a garden so they can learn on gardening. They're also going to learn about photography. So they're going to learn independent skills, learn how to cook, learn how to wash clothes. So these are students, special ed students that can stay in school after 18 years old. We are currently fixing that with local money. We won't be using bond money for that. But we're real happy with that, and that should be done in May. So the transportation department will be coming in through the area, the backside. If you see the top arrow, that shows you where the buses will be coming in. The arrows at the bottom where the circles are, there's where we're going to construct our parking lot for the buses and parking lot for the employees as well. In the center area, we're going to be building a maintenance shop where they will be working on buses, since we'll be relocating our transportation department to a centralized location in our district, making it easier to go east, west, or north of the district. So having this bus department in the middle area will be less travel to different parts of our district. Also, it will eliminate a lot of the bus traffic and parking at the high school, middle school, and Emma Veta area. So this is where the proposed site of the transportation department will be relocated to. If you see the middle arrow there, there's where we're going to have the offices to our transportation department. We won't have to construct a building since we already have a structure there. What we're going to do is just fix the inside of the building and use the existing building, which is the old YB Elementary, for the offices of our transportation. So now we'll go over to Proposition B, and I'll have Edgar Garza go over that. Mr. Garza?
Good evening. I'm going to be going over Proposition B. Proposition B consists of the following: football stadium upgrades, and the upgrades in the football stadium would be bleacher expansions, new restrooms, and new concession stands. Remember, the football stadium was built in 1990. That's over 30 years ago. Also, in Proposition B, we have new dressing rooms for the Roma High School baseball, soccer, and tennis teams. The total cost of Proposition B is $8,845,000. Now, why do we need Proposition B? If you look at the following pictures, you can see the current facilities that we're talking about. The bottom left shows the current bleachers at the football stadium. The next picture shows the current gym dressing rooms. These dressing rooms are used by the soccer and tennis teams and many other teams, and are located in the Eleuterio Garza gym. The next picture shows one of the two concession stands on the home side of the stadium. The last picture on the bottom is the visitor side dressing room, which is currently being used by the baseball team. In the next slide, you can see a rendition of the home side bleachers with the two added sections on each end. This would expand the bleachers on the home side by more than 1,100 seats. The middle picture shows the current football stadium concession stands. The last picture shows the restrooms currently available in the stadium. And like I said, these facilities were built in 1990 and are 33 years old. The next slide shows possible dressing rooms that would be built if the bond would pass. Our architects have previously built these exact dressing rooms in other districts. The last slide of Proposition B shows an aerial view of the proposed facility upgrades at Roma High School. The small squares on the top show where home and visitor concession stands and restrooms would be built. The lower left shows the dressing rooms for the tennis and soccer teams, along with concessions and restrooms, while the lower right shows the location of the visitor side dressing rooms and the baseball dressing rooms that would be next to the baseball field. At this time, Mrs. Marisabel Montes will explain the projects of Proposition C.
Thank you, Mr. Garza. The third proposition is Proposition C, which includes a new Roma ISD multipurpose facility. Within this multipurpose facility, there will be a new black box theater, which is what the drama or one-act play group uses to practice for their competitions. Also, in the new multipurpose facility, there will be 4 new CTE classrooms. The district has not yet determined which CTE classes exactly will be in the other areas in the multipurpose facility, but it can be classes from health, science, business, or other areas in the CTE department. The multipurpose facility will also have 2 large meeting rooms that will be divided by a curtain. These rooms will be able to be used for staff development sessions, testing, academic camps, and even community events. The main area of the multipurpose facility will be a convertible gymnasium. By convertible, we mean that the gymnasium will be able to convert to a large meeting or performance area. I'll go a bit more into details in some of the next slides. The total cost of Proposition C is $24,760,000. Why do we need Proposition C? If you look at the picture in the top left, this is currently one of the rooms in the performing arts that is being used by GTN. The picture on the top right is an area behind the stage that our one-act play is currently using to store their props. The picture on the bottom right is what was initially designated to be the black box theater at the Performing Arts. This room is currently being used by the orchestra. Our orchestra group plus other performance groups have grown in the last years, and we are running out of space in the Performing Arts Center. We have our one-act play students looking for spaces to practice. Sometimes they're able to use the stage, the back of the stage, and even at the library at times. So that is why the black box theater is needed. This next slide shows us a rendering of what the gymnasium area in the multipurpose facility would look like. If you look at the picture on the top, this is an actual gym in Corpus Christi that was designed by our architects. The gym in the multipurpose facility would have pull-out bleachers with a lower level and an upper level. Where you see the wall with the words gladiators, that section there will open up to a stage. The gymnasium will be able to be converted to an area that, if using chairs on the floor as well as the seating on the bleachers, will sit up to 3,000 people. Sometimes during graduation, there is the need to have to move indoors because of the weather. This would be an area that we could use to bring graduation indoors, together with the possibility of an additional 900 people viewing via satellite at the Performing Arts Center. This multipurpose center will also include the full facilities of a gymnasium, such as the dressing rooms for boys and girls basketball and girls volleyball. Behind the stage that I mentioned is where the black box theater would be located. The picture at the bottom shows an example of what the black box can look like. This would be used for students to practice their performances and also to put on small showings for an audience. This floor plan shows a multi-purpose facility that was built in Corpus Christi. This facility does not include the classroom and meeting rooms that the proposed multi-purpose facility for Roma ISD will have. Those would be added to the plans for Roma ISD's multi-purpose facility. Where will this multi-purpose facility be located? In this slide, you can see Roma High School. You can see an arrow pointing to the area between the library entrance at the high school and Highway 83. This is where this facility would be built. One of the reasons is that it would have access to the parking lots from the PAC, Roma Middle School, and Roma High School. The road that is closest to the highway would be done away with. This, together with the relocation of the Transportation Department to YBE and Escobares, will alleviate a lot of the traffic in and around Roma High School. So this is a plan for the multi-purpose facility and Proposition C. I will now pass it back to Mr. Gonzalez.
Okay, so the total cost of the 3 propositions is $41,920,000. So how does this work? Well, the bond election process is as explained. Roma ISD identified the facilities needed to benefit the district growth. And the area we looked at is basically at the high school area, and we moved in there in 1990-91. So it's one of the oldest facilities, or the oldest facilities we have in our district. To pay for the identified projects, the Roma ISD School Board voted to propose the projects grouped by propositions to the voters of Roma ISD. On February 13th, the school board voted to call for a bond election for a total amount of $41,920,000. On May 6th, voters will have a chance to vote for or against the propositions as they are presented. The next slide. So what are the voters deciding? Well, we have 3 propositions. You either vote for or against each proposition. There will be 3 items up for vote when you go vote. For Proposition A, for Proposition B, or Proposition C. So on the ballot, you have 3 items to vote for. You either vote for it or you vote against it. So I'll turn this over now to Angel Magallanes, one of our financial advisors, as he will go over the projected tax rate impact.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. As Mr. Gonzalez mentioned, there is a propositions to vote for and against. And as any bond out in Texas and in any of these communities, for or against, what you're accepting is for a tax levy. As bonds, these are only paid out through the tax efforts of the community. So what we're looking at here today is what would be the projected tax rate impacts. Currently, you're at $1.3245. So if the bonds were to pass in May, you would have a net increase of 2 cents. Well, how does that work? Well, currently, as I mentioned, $1.3245, and you'll have a decrease next year down to $1.2824. $1.2824, that decrease is done due to your increase in values as a community, as a school district. 2, there is state aid also being offered for that decrease. And 3, the district as a whole has been doing a good effort and looking at potential savings through refinancings. As you all were aware, tax rates were low in the past few years, and the district took those opportunities to lower down the interest rates, which lowered down the debt service. Then what you have in 2025 is that increase of 6 cents. Again, you're going from $1.3245 in 2025 to $1.3424. It'll be 6 cents increase from 2024, but a 2 cent increase from your current tax rate. So that is what we're looking at. And how is that broken? What else pays for this bond? If you go on to the next slide, the major component here with school bonds, depending on your property values and how the district decides the wealth of the district, it varies from district to district. Here in Roma ISD, there's a program called existing debt allotment, and the state will provide projected 61% for this bond. So the state will provide that funding to pay for 61% of that bond. Your district local taxes will be about 39%. How is that broken down a little even further on that 39%? Well, at that 39%, the district will be paying for these bonds. 10% is projected from the households here of Roma ISD. So the rest of that 39% will be paid by the other industries throughout the district, and also the 61% through the state. To break that even further, if we're looking at $1, the homestead owners, the homeowners here of the district, will be paying 10 cents on the dollar. So for every dollar of this bond, the homeowners here in Roma ISD will be paying 10 cents for this bond. Again, 61% projected coming from state aid. So what does that mean in actual dollar amounts for a homeowner? If you have a homestead exemption, and that's very important, please check with your tax office, as Mr. Gonzalez will discuss further. Please check that you do have a filed homestead exemption on record with your tax office in order to get an exemption for your household. So for a household of approximately $75,000, you're getting an exemption of $40,000 currently, and that exemption could increase up to $70,000. There's a lot of moving parts right now in legislation that's going to increase homestead exemptions. Again, currently it's at $40,000. That could increase in the next year to $70,000. So that's why it's important that you have these homestead exemptions filed. So that for a $75,000 home, currently you're looking at a $21 increase for a year. If the homestead exemption increases to $70,000, you're looking at only $5,000 taxable, which becomes approximately 50 cents a year. So for that household that's at $50,000 currently, that household at $50,000, if the homestead exemption that the legislators are looking at increases to $70,000, that household will not have an increase in their taxes. They'll be zero for that year. And then if we keep on going, if you are a homeowner and 65 years and older, again, there's another filing that needs to be done with the tax office. Please, if you are 65 years and older, please make sure that you do have, one, a homestead exemption, and two, your 65 years and older exemption as well. This freezes your taxes, so you will not see an increase on your overall tax rate for next year and the years to come. So there is a lot of things to keep in mind here. One, make sure you file your exemptions, and two, that the state is putting in 61% for this bond. And I'll pass it on to you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Thank you, Mr. Magallanes. I have a few questions here. So, Mr. Magallanes, you're saying that the tax rate in 2025 is going to go to $1.34, right?
Correct.
Up 2 cents from this year.
Correct.
In 2026, the tax rate will be basically the same that we are paying this year, right?
In 2026, you will have a decrease, and the reason for that decrease is that's when the state will put their portion of state aid, and as well, we're projecting with some little increases in values that your tax rate will go down.
So we're seeing if the bond were to pass, that the tax rate is only going to increase for 1 year, right?
Correct.
Okay. So one thing that he mentioned again, and I'd like to say again, is our homestead exemption. It's very important that anybody in our community, if you haven't filed for homestead exemption, that you file for it, because that's $40,000 off the value of your home. And as the legislative session is going on right now, it might go to $70,000. We don't know we won't know till May, but you need to take advantage of that. You need to take advantage of that. And if you don't know, those of you out there, if you don't know if you have homestead exemption, you can reach out to our tax office, and the ladies there will direct you to the county office and where you can file for those exemptions. It's very important. And if you want to know, we can also help you here. You can ask us questions here in central office. We can go online and find out if you have homestead exemption or not. But thank you, Mr. Llanes, for that information. And those at 65 and older, your taxes will not raise, but it's very important that you make sure that you file for that exemption as well. Before I go into the election information on the days that you're going to be able to go out to vote, I'm going to entertain some questions, either from the audience or online, if there's some that have asked any questions online. We don't have any online at the moment, but I think Mr. Cortez raised his hand first, and then we'll go to you, ma'am. Yes, sir, could you ask a question?
It's whoever's listed on the actual owners of that home. So if both of y'all are listed, That would have to be, I believe,
Yeah.
both.
No, if it's
Or is it just one? Or just one?
It's only one. But you qualify, let's just say if you're 65, you qualify for the homestead exemption as well as the 65 and over. Okay? Yes, ma'am?
Can you remind the voters how long ago it was that there was another bond election, how frequently or how seldom you come to the voters asking for a bond?
Pedro, if you can answer that?
I have that.
Last election, I believe, was 2000.
It was 2015, that was approved. 2007, that was approved. 2006, that was approved. And from our records, 2000, and that was approved as well.
So basically, the bonds that we've had in the past were to build elementary schools. And we focused on the elementary level where we've built those schools. And I'm not too sure, when we built the Performing Arts Center, that was in 2015?
2007.
2007. In 2007, we had a bond to build the Performing Arts and also the field house. And the field house. So if you go to our website, the first thing you're going to see on our website is bond election. If you click on it, there is an area where you can view the different years, the history of Roma ISD bonds. We're being as transparent as we can be, so that's out there for the public. If you see some signs that the school district has put, there's a QR code on the signs. If you scan that QR code, it's going to give you this information that we went over today, but it's also going to give you information on past bonds. Yes, sir. Sí, puede ser en español.
Porque es un proyecto ambicioso para el Distrito Escolar de Roma y para toda la comunidad. ¿Qué le podemos decir a la gente que habla español sobre el impacto de los impuestos? No va a haber un incremento exagerado por lo que estamos escuchando. ¿Cuál es este mensaje para la gente que tenga tranquilidad y, bueno, pues acudan a votar en poder de votación?
Sí.
Sí, lo más importante aquí de identificar es que en cada dólar de taxas que va a venir al distrito, 10% va a ser pagado por los dueños de casas aquí en el distrito. 61% de los fondos va a estar fundado por el Estado y el resto va a estar fundado por comercial y por otras industrias aquí del distrito. Pero lo importante es que los que son dueños de casas aquí en el distrito que tengan sus exenciones de casas que valoran a 40,000 ahorita y puede subir a 70,000 para el año que entra. Y también si tienen 65 años o más, que también tengan esos papeles entrados con la oficina de las taxas para ganar esas exenciones también. Son dos exenciones, una para ser dueños de casas y la segunda para los que tengan 65 y para arriba. Pero lo importante es que 61% de estos fondos va a estar fundado por el Estado.
También tocante a eso, el promedio de las casas, de los valores de las casas en este distrito escolar es más o menos $70,000. Si ahorita la exención de $40,000, entonces el que paga los impuestos pagar solamente en $30,000. Quiero explicar un poquito de qué quiere decir la exención esa de $40,000. Por cada $10,000 de exención son $132. Entonces, ahorita, si tiene uno una exención de $40,000, se puede estar ahorrando hasta $500 de impuestos. Alguien que tenga una casa de $70,000, si pasa lo que nosotros pensamos que va a pasar en el Congreso del Estado, si suben la exención a $70,000, una persona que tiene una casa de $70,000 no va a pagar ningún impuesto en las escuelas, porque van a quitar todo el valor de la exención. Esos $30,000 que le suben a la exención van a ser casi $400 más. Entonces, una persona que tiene una casa de $140,000, vamos a decir, entonces se le van a rebajar, ahorita se le rebajan 40, se le van a rebajar 70, y $70,000 de exención en esta escuela vienen siendo casi $800, más o menos $800. En inglés, if I may, just the exemption is so important. If you don't do anything else, you need to go file your exemption if you don't have it already. The exemption is so important that every $10,000 worth of exemption is worth $132 right now in the Roma schools. So the $40,000 exemption is over $500. And if the legislature passes, as we are pretty confident that they're going to pass, an additional $30,000, that would be an additional almost $400 in savings to the taxpayer. So conceivably, to put it on a nutshell, it could end up that we said earlier, Angel said earlier, a person that has a $75,000 home would increase $21 a year. That might increase at $21 a year, but in the exemption side, you're saving $300 or $400 a year. So the taxpayer, in effect, will not see an increase in their tax payment. En español, dijo Ángel más temprano de que alguien que tiene una casa de $75,000, según está ahorita la ley, le van a subir los impuestos $21 al año. Nosotros estamos diciendo que si pasa y estamos bien seguros que va a pasar, otros $30,000 de exenciones, el pagador de impuestos se va a ahorrar ahí casi $400. So, en efecto, está subiendo 21 y la ganancia por la acción del Estado está ahorrando dinero. Puede pasarse el bono y la gente, en efecto, puede pasar que no vean incrementos en los impuestos.
These projections that you have that taken into consideration the possibility of exemptions, the changes that could happen that could make it to when you pass it before that, like you said, critical gap to have a
Currently, we could only put and disclose what's factual and what's in law currently. So that's what we have on our projections on what the law currently has. So once May 31st is the deadline for all legislation bills to be approved and formed into law. So once it's into law, we will make adjustments, but that would be after the bond election precedingly.
The Senate, son dos, en inglés decimos houses, dos casas en el Congreso, ¿verdad? El Senado ya pasó el $70,000, el homestead exemption. Y en the House side, hasta están pidiendo hasta más, pero nosotros pensamos que van a caer ahí más o menos en medio.
But on the safe side, is what we're putting is where we're at right now, at the $40,000 exemption. But this $70,000 we won't know till May, as they're saying. But when we went out for a bond, and I can let them explain it in Spanish in a while, when we went out to a bond, the board wanted it to affect the taxpayers as little as possible. So what we did, we went for our needs, and the needs are facilities that are 30 years old. You know, we've outgrown many areas in our district at the secondary level, and those are the needs that we have right now. And what we tried to do, we tried to set up the bond where it won't affect the taxpayers as much. It's going to affect them 1 year. In 2025, you'll be paying 2 cents more per $100 value to the house as you're paying this year. After that, they go back down to what we're paying this year. But if we get that $70,000 exemption, that's going to give the taxpayers some more savings. So we're trying to, if this bond were to pass, we don't want it to affect the taxpayers that much. I don't know if somebody wants to explain that in Spanish.
Una de las cosas que se trataba de buscar era asegurarnos que solamente se vieran las necesidades para tratar de no afectar tanto los impuestos de nuestros ciudadanos. Entonces, pues se tomó en cuenta y por eso se hizo este estudio con los arquitectos, ¿verdad? Para tomar en cuenta solamente lo que era necesario para ofrecerles lo mejor a nuestros estudiantes. El número de los 42 millones de dólares nos lleva a un punto donde podemos seguir manteniendo la tasa actual de las taxas que tiene el distrito escolar. Entonces, pues es muy importante recordar que el Estado está ofreciéndonos pagar el 61% de este total, que son 25 millones y medio que la ciudadanía no tendría que pagar, pero todavía sí nos tomaríamos ventaja de 42 millones de dólares de construcción. El 29% del total de estos proyectos serían pagados por los windmills, los papalotes, ¿verdad? El gas, petróleo que se saca aquí en el área. Ellos también pagan taxas, también contribuyen taxas. El comercio local, ¿verdad? Ellos tienen también sus impuestos, entonces ellos también contribuyen a todo esto. Ellos les tocaría el 29% y 10%, como mencionaban, pues nos tocaría a todos los residentes, ¿verdad? Que tenemos casa aquí. Entonces el impacto sería mínimo, pero se estaría tomando en cuenta muchas necesidades que tiene el distrito, especialmente en las escuelas secundarias.
Okay, is there any other questions?
One last question. What about the timeline for these projects? Many times we get real excited with these projects and then some of the taxpayers get impatient along the way.
Yes, so what, on May 6th is election day, right? So let's just say if the bond were to pass. So if the bond passes, it can take up to about 7 months before the planning of the facilities by architects are finished. We're not doing the plannings because we don't know if the bond is going to pass or fail. So if we know that it passes, our architects will get busy and do the planning phase. And once we're finished with that, with around 6 to 7 months, then we have to go out for bidding. And that will take another 6 to 7 months. So you're looking at a year passing by. So before you will see construction of some projects, could be a year and a half. And it takes about a year to a year and a half to finish projects. So we're looking at maybe 3 years down the road at some of these projects being finished. Some are not as much construction, so it could take maybe a year for them to finish. Like the learning spaces for the elementary kids, those we can do it within a year. That's very easy to build. But the facilities takes a while, and the planning that goes into it. So it's about a 2.5 to 3 year wait before we see the bigger projects. Any other questions? Do we have any questions? Yes. Yes, the multi-purpose center, at the center of it is a gymnasium, okay? It's going to be it's called multi-purpose because we can use that gymnasium for community events. So as Ms. Belmonte said earlier, sometimes we have bad weather and we got to take graduations inside. Here in Roma, we don't have a Dodge Arena. We don't have a Payne Arena. We would have to go into our pack, and our pack fits about 1,000 people. But if we put seats on the floor of this gym, we can sit 3,000, maybe a little over 3,000 people inside that gym. So would allow us to get like the mother, father, and the grandparents to see their child graduate if we need to move it inside. We could also use it for community events for the city because it's like a stage area where we can have maybe even a big band concert if more people want to go to it and where it's more people are performing arts doesn't is not big enough to sit the people. So it serves many purposes. It'll serve, of course, for basketball and volleyball, but some sections in there would be able to practice wrestling. We'd be able to have community events there, graduations. We're going to have career and technical education classes there, whether it's health science or whether it's technology. We'll see what happens if the bond passes, then we do the final planning stages on that. But also importantly, we'll have meeting spaces where we can have professional development for our teachers. We can use the 2 big rooms for a testing site, academy so kids can get ready for a STAR exam. So there's going to be many purposes for this building, along with giving our one-act play a place to practice. So yes, there's a lot of different things that this building would be able to use for. Currently, we only have 1 gym at the high school. We have surrounding school districts that have 2 or 3 gyms at their high school. So we have 3 boys basketball teams and 3 girls basketball teams, and we have 1 gym at the high school. They have to come all the way to Chuy Guerra Gym or Juanita Cantu Gym away from the high school to practice. Having that gym, extra gym there, but you can divide it up and probably practice 2 teams at one time there. We will have more spaces for our kids in high school to practice. Currently, we have the smallest basketball stadium in our district. I hope I answered the question. I said a lot, right? Any other questions? We don't have any? So what we're trying to be, we're being as transparent as we can. We're not going to pull the cover over anybody's eyes. We're just telling you what we need and some facility areas that we have overlooked in the past, maybe not overlooked, but they concentrated on building elementary schools. We're outgrowing areas in the high school, and these are areas that we need that will benefit our kids for years to come. And we would like to provide our kids with the best facilities possible. And that's why we're here today. We might have another meeting next week, and if we have that meeting, it will be basically in Spanish. We're also getting interviewed in Spanish, where that might go out to the community as well. But if you want information on our bond, the QR code that you see out there in the community, scan it with your phone, and you get everything that we're going over here. Or if you go to our website, the first thing you're going to see on our website is the bond page. Click on it, and it gives you everything that you need to know. So before we finish today, I'm going to go over, if you can click it back to the screen and take us off, please, so we can go over the election information. I think it's going on, right? Okay, so early voting is going to be from April 24th to April 28th, and that will be at the Juanita Cantu Gymnasium. That's 703 North Gladiator Boulevard here in Roma, Texas. And we also have early voting on May 1st and May 2nd. On May 6th will be Election Day at the Juanita Cantu Gym, and that will be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. If you have any questions in regards to the bond election, you have myself, Carlos Gonzalez, Edgar Garza, Marisa Belmontes, Pedro Alanis, Edgar Rodriguez, where you can contact us here at Central Office, and we'll be able to answer some of your questions if you have further questions in the upcoming days. But we'd like to thank everybody for attending today, whether you came in person or whether you're online. Thank you for spending this time with us as we went over our bond election overview, and may you all have an awesome night tonight. Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We've been going to all the schools. We got a lot of practice, but when we first did this, we were